No, I don't want it to report.
Robert and Brad. Okay. My headline. Let's wait for the headline. Wow. Occupant load 245 people in this space. I hope not. Yes, it does. Okay, so the Hāmākua Action Committee meeting will now come to order. It is Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, and the time is around 5 p.m. This meeting is held in person and by interactive conference technology. The meeting will also be recorded on Zoom. As a reminder, for Sunshine Law, AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on and announce anyone who is with them, except for minors in their location. Okay, so we'll roll call. Nehamani. Hi. Richard Beidelman. Here. Tom Keeney. Here. Red Kurakawa. Brad.
Yeah, here.
Okay. Robert Hashimoto.
There.
And the chair, David Meyer. I'm here. Okay. And from Planning Department, Mariam Palma, Jessica Heap, if I'm saying that right, and Janice Hada. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off or on silent mode. If there is anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the sign up form. Is there anybody online? No, okay. We'll just go right on through that then. Okay, we're going to consider approving the draft minutes from February 12th, 2024 and March 13th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the February 12th, 2024 meeting minutes as circulated?
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
And that is in line 23 through 26 to ensure timely review of Hāmākua CDP district applications. CAC requested that the chair be notified of any new applications for subdivision, zoning changes, variances, and planning commission agendas and meeting minutes upon submission to the planning department. I'm just wondering, should we then expect that we will be notified or that the chair will be notified when there are subdivision applications or variance applications?
Mark, did you hear that question?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, hold on. Can I go one extra step over here? My AirPods just went out, but give me, I think, 5 seconds and I'll be back on board. Can you hear me now okay?
Yeah.
Okay, question is about public notices. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
The question was regarding public notices.
Yes, the question is, again, here, it says to ensure timely review of Hāmākua CDP district applications. The action committee requested that the chair be notified of any new applications for subdivision, zoning changes, variances, and planning commission agendas and meeting minutes upon submission to the planning department. So my question was, should we expect that the chair will be notified when there are applications for subdivision, zoning changes, and variances?
Okay. Is there considering that, is that like considering we're doing the approval of the minutes, is it that there's an issue with the way the minutes are written to reflect that, or this is a general topic because it's in the announcement sections to talk about it? So is it okay to talk about it in that section of the agenda, or is this specific?
I'm sorry, I understand.
So she's asking that your question, if we can talk about it during the public part, because right now he's just asking us to approve the minutes.
Yes, if that's okay, it's not on the agenda, so if it's okay that we add that to the agenda, then I'm fine to, leave it for.
Yeah, that's would be fine with it. Just, if it's not a problem with the actual minutes, it's just, we can
Okay.
touch on that, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So,
Yeah. I move that the minutes be approved.
I second.
second, okay, any discussion? No? Okay, call, Maloney said. Yes. Just asking if there's any questions or comments? No? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, there are none, so the motion passes unanimously. And then we have to do the March 13th, 2024, last meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for March 13th, 2024? So moved. And a second,
I second.
any comments? Questions? No? Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. All those in, oh, yeah, we did that. Okay, so public testimony, so I understand there's nobody on Zoom or here as far as the public. Okay. So we'll move on to business. So the first item is discussion of implementation of priorities for 2024. Let's see.
Is there a place or the time that we insert what Ron had asked for at the beginning?
You know, let's just do that now.
What would be the proper time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't want us to forget it.
Right, yeah, no, I think we should just do that first.
Okay,
Doesn't sound like a. So would you like to start over with that again?
Oh.
Question, or did, okay, or Miriam, you understand the question that Tom had about, getting notifications on notices for planning? So it's actually a question rather than a.
Yeah, I guess when I'm the agenda I'm looking at here, based off the blast we did, has that noted as planning department update on public notices on the announcements, under announcements, item number 6.
It doesn't have a bullet point. So in the agenda, under item 6, under announcements,
No,
there is a bullet point for planning department update on public notice.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
Okay.
it's just missing bullet point.
okay,
So that's where Mariam would address.
okay, so we'll get to that then, okay.
okay. Okay, just one.
Sorry about
Is that okay? No, you mean,
Sure. Okay, so, I guess you have a presentation?
I
Considering
do.
I'll
do.
go ahead with that, and we can have a discussion.
All right, let's get that rolling for you all. I'll do a share screen. Hopefully that'll be best.
Sorry, I hate to complain, is there a way to vote on the bottom because it's happening? Okay, we can. Right, no, her vote for,
Yeah,
her bottom.
Totally agree.
I think that's the Allen's volume though.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong way. Is it showing the presentation or?
Sorry, Maria, we're going to try to figure out a way to lower the volume because it's a bit echoing in this room. Yeah. It's that. Sorry. Martin, do you mind testing with us? Say something and we'll tell you if it's.
Testing.
Yeah, that volume is perfect. Oh, yes.
That's
Okay.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's better.
Hold on. I think I'm sharing the wrong.
Oh, yeah, Mario, you can just press display settings.
Oh, sorry. I just wondering.
Yeah,
How about that one?
oh, perfect.
Yeah?
Marlon, do you mind speaking in a softer volume? You just have this wonderful boisterous voice that it echoes in here.
It really happens a lot.
Sorry, it's a little hard to hear the echo in the room.
Yeah, same here. I was asking if you could speak a little softer. Just your voice is super loud. You have a very big voice.
Okay. I think that's even better for my voice. So how
That's
about now?
better. Your
Is that-
volume now is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as a reminder of the process we've been through thus far, the goal was to kind of reorient the action committees to focus on the community development plan documents. Hāmākua specifically has the Hāmākua CDP Community Action Guide as an additional document to support the Hāmākua CDP. This guide, we kind of went over it. I gave some general examples of action items we could pick from it to focus on for this year. There's over 50 items. There's no way we're going to accomplish all of them. And they are of varying, they're all across the spectrum. So I gave you guys some examples, hoping we could kind of brainstorm a little bit. We sent out the Google form. We got some responses. So today the goal is to go over those responses. Briefly, I'm just going to highlight them and review what you all said, and then let that be the platform to begin our discussion and to see if we can come to an agreement on what are the items. I know they're all important. I know all of them need to get done, but what as a committee will we be focusing on this year?
Well, you sent us a document and asked us to fill in with certain items. Do you have a summary of that you can put on the screen?
What is the question? I'm sorry, if someone closer to the mic can.
Oh, Mario, Richard is asking if you will be presenting a summary of the Google form results.
Yes, so that's the first slide. I'm sorry, here we go, next. Let me get, for some reason it's not going, how about now? Okay, here's the general summary that we got. So we got these items, specifically, we were asking for specific items from the guide. Here are all the items listed with their corresponding page number. I have a slide for each of these that we'll kind of be able to talk about further and let the conversation go how it goes. Other input was received, not specific to any community action number, but within important topics as well that some of these items do relate to. So if you guys are ready, I'll go on to the next slide that dives into the first one on the list, community action number 2. Any questions so far?
I have a question. Are these in any particular order?
Purely numerical based on the guide. That's these the only one that had had more than one vote towards it, or that was repeated in the Google form, was at community action number 15. Which is to develop and implement plans to establish and manage specific access points and trails. Everything else was just only one response was received for each of these, but except for 15.
You know, it would have been nice if we could have had a hard copy. We could have had
Can I have the question clarified again? Sorry, Janice. It's a bit hard from that angle. The owl.
I think you were saying,
Do you have a hard copy?
The question was if we had a hard copy. We don't at this meeting, but we could also provide this presentation. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can give these slides. Is that the question? These slides can be sent out to the committee right after this meeting. I can send it out now, actually, if you all would prefer.
No, what I'm saying is, for the purposes of this meeting, it would have been nice to have a hard copy of this done, than what you're putting on the screen. I'm having a hard time reading it.
All of this comes verbatim from the community action guide. We can work on printing a copy, of the guide. I believe we've sent out the link.
Didn't you send it out to us?
Yeah, we sent it out
Yeah.
and the results to the committee several weeks
Richard,
ago.
one thing I would recommend you doing is printing, it out for yourself. Because I know, like, what I do is when I receive the meeting packet, like I'm doing it by Zoom, but I'll have the copy on my computer so I can look at it. That'd be a lot simpler than expecting them to bring copies. I can understand, yes, it's supportive, but just being proactive anyway. That's just my suggestion.
He's just saying that they sent out through email the response with this on. And then, we just printed it ourselves and we had it. Maybe, I don't know,
But we don't, I'm saying they're going to send it out.
they are,
did.
yeah.
I don't recall receiving it.
No, it was in the action guide. They never sent this out specifically, because I don't have this either.
Seems like
I think they did. In the meeting packet,
What
Yeah.
Brad was saying, from my understanding, is that if we were proactive and printed out our own guide, because it's maybe, I don't know, a couple pages, whatever, then we could actively look at this, or when stuff comes up throughout the meeting, that's like his Bible, he carries it around to the meetings. Is that correct, Brad?
yeah, I didn't quite hear, but basically, I did see this when they sent it to us via email. And so you can just be proactive and print it out for yourself and have it available when you come to the meeting.
All right, so it was sent out.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, was it sent out by itself, or was it buried in some other document?
Well, there was, might have been in one with the meeting, I forget what it's called, Brad mentioned the name.
David, what I'm getting at here is, this is the meeting packet.
It's not in the meeting packet, but it was
And
sent out.
that should have been included in the packet.
Right, but they did send that out, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Because I can hardly read that.
So, why don't we go ahead with Marion's presentation, and then we can come back to this, obviously, I think, and we can have discussion based on this list here. Maybe, does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Moving to the next slide, is that my understanding? Is that
Okay, you
correct?
go ahead with your presentation, and then I'm sure at some point we'll come back to this one.
Okay, all right, so going on, based off that list, community action number 2 was mentioned on the Google form, was proposed by a member. Community action number 2 reads, establish acquisition property priorities using PONC criteria and secure priority lands. This kind of goes also in line with one of the other Google form responses that has to do with preserving historical and cultural character. And then over here, obviously, potential leads could be the AC, along with other partners, including PONC, Nature Conservancy, HILT, and Trust for Public Land and whatnot. The other item that was mentioned on the Google form, Community Action 3, develop a coastal resource management plan as part of a watershed management plan. Potential lead, action committee partners would include residents familiar with local natural resources, owners of shoreline property, Hāmākua Advisory Committee, Basic Image / Paka Love, Hawaiian Civic Clubs, the Nature Conservancy, Kamehameha Schools, surfers, fishermen, hikers. Allies include MACSAC, Malamakai, Surfrider Foundation, Pacific Fisheries Coalition, Makai Watch, Reef Check Hawaii, Project C link. And it goes on pretty others, Friends of Ho'okana Beach Park, considering they also are pretty active in this. This is a pretty hefty community action, and we could piecemeal this and get that process started. What it looks like for all these actions that I'm going off of from your guys' responses to the form, all of these, we can kind of carve this path in a way that works with who we have on our committee and the partners that we have. Another action that was proposed. Yes.
Let's go back to the previous item, please. Okay. This, they talk about a coastal plan. There's nothing in here about what we're gonna do with cesspools. And it seems to me that's a major item right now.
Well, let's get through the list and then we can, that's what the discussion is. I mean, there's not gonna be cesspool necessarily in this action item right here, right? So. Sorry, no, that's all right, yeah. Okay.
So yeah. Okay, so number 4, support the organization of a community-based hui for the fisher people of Hāmākua Coast, with the AC as a lead and allies that could include Hui Malama o Mo'omomi, Hawaii Community Stewardship Network, DLNR, others that we might come across or that members might be aware of. Potential option.
Can I make a suggestion to add a potential ally on it with DPS? Because some of their properties go down to the coastal sites.
Yep.
What was
I
the
mean,
question?
it's for Eagle it does.
Maria was suggesting a potential ally could also be commitment school.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is not a comprehensive list. It's a starting point.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I just added my comments on that.
Action item number 7, support the development and promotion of a heritage corridor and or sections of the old Mamalahoa Highway as scenic byways. AC as lead, potential partners include landowners, Lapahoihoi Train Museum, Hilo Hāmākua Development Corporation, and allies would be the county, Hawaii Tourism Authority, Big Island Visitors Bureau, SHPT, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Alakahakai National Historic Trail, National Association of Gateway Communities, National Geographic Society Center for Sustainable Destinations, Kavelina Network, Pacific Worlds, Project for Public Spaces, and People's Advocacy for Trails Hawaii. Again, all of this is just mentioned in these plans. We just brought it, literally copied and pasted forward just for these slides, but the plan, the community action guide, does go in a little bit deeper. And as our discussion kind of grows around this, we can go and dig into the actual plan and read out other things that might be noted that would be helpful to the conversation once we're kind of sorting through the different options. Action number 15 was mentioned. This one had multiple responses on the Google form. Develop and implement plans to establish and manage specific access points and trails. So action committee, leading partners, including Mama Mauka Makai Access, and allies include the North Kohala Access Group, the county, CRC, the Cultural Resource Commission, PONC, DLNR, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, State Historic Preservation Division, National Park Service, Nature Conservancy, Hawaiian Island Land Trust, Trust for Public Land, etc. Community action number 34 for communities identified by DOFAL as communities at risk, develop community wildlife protection plans and work towards gaining Firewise recognition. This makes sense that you guys proposed it. This definitely has been a topic that's come up at our meetings. But we can look into what exists and move on with all those other partners that we've already kind of actually even brought to our meetings. Community action number 37, develop and implement safe routes to schools programs. This also is a topic that has been brought up. Potential lead would be the parent-teacher associations, safe routes to school, and partners would be school administrations, DOE, DPW, PATH, state DOE, state DOT, and allies would be the committee, the Department of Health, and the County of Hawaii Planning Department, along with, was DPW mentioned in here? Oh, earlier, yeah, DPW. This, I think, correlates to conversations that Mr. Beidelman brought up in terms of the sidewalk situation in Honoka'a. So that's that one. Action item number 40, work with state and private landowners to develop and maintain additional trails for non-motorized recreation. So we would have the AC as a potential lead along with PATH, DOFA. Community partners include PUNC, KS, Allies, Sierra Club, Nature Conservancy, Rails to Trails Conservancy as well. Action item number 42, develop a distinctive identity for the Hāmākua region to enable public and private industries to promote it as unique within the state of Hawaii. The AC could be LEAD, Hilo Hāmākua Community Development Corporation as well, along partnering with the county's Department of Research and Development, Hawaii Tourism Authority, Hawaii Island Chamber of Commerce, with allies that could include Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau. Action item number 54, promote the collaborative development, use, and management of community gardens in towns and neighborhoods. The noted lead within the action guide is community and farming groups, and partners include American Community Garden Association, Let's Grow Hilo, Kohala Center, One Island, UH Hilo CTAR's Masters Gardener Program, Greenleaf Communities. And that's the whole list that all the responses from the Google form. So I guess the question on the table now is, what action item do we want to tackle first? I'll go back to the beginning. That has the entire list, so you can see it all at once. We can dive into any of these items. Any further discussion?
I have a question. You know, like there's the community action 42. And you know, like when I look at all these different actions, you know, the committee itself does not have the expertise to, you know, be the, you know, like coming up with, like, for example, some of these plans will require GIS, you know, all those kinds of things. Our role is to actually act as the facilitator to get the community input. And so, you know, like for me, it's kind of like this, you know, deciding what the committee is interested in tackling, but at the same time, concurrently, there needs to be, you know, like staff support. And that means you guys from the planning department to say, okay, we're going to pull the GS guys to help do that. And then maybe some facilitation when we have to actually document the plan. And so, you know, that's really important. And that's like for me with the YPO one is we have this large YPO Vahipana stuff, but we need the support, and, you know, R&D has stepped up to the plate for that. But then now we want to come up with other management plans, like the water management plan, the recreational access plan, you know, all those other things. And so, you know, that is going to require commitment, and probably, I don't know if you need funding, you know, in-house. That's, you know, and I've seen like some of the others is at committee action stuff was the various little town plans for Honolulu and Honoka'a and Pauwilo. And so those, again, the committee can get involved from the liaison side, but we need to have you know, staffing, and you guys maybe just need to identify, I don't know if you're gonna hire consultants or if you guys can handle it in-house, but that is gonna be necessary. Otherwise, it doesn't move forward. Yeah, so I just want to kind of reiterate that point because yeah, I mean, so keep that in mind because we're gonna need to identify like, even like, I would like, from a staffing standpoint, you guys have assignments to support us in these meetings, but outside of that, that's the kind of actions that we zoom in on, that you're gonna have to get support staff from you and not only the planning department in-house, but externally with other county agencies like DPW for safe routes to school. And so that is very critical that, it gets established and say, okay, we're gonna move forward. And they're gonna devote the staffing time to support that outside of our meetings itself. I mean, the meetings will involve, progress and the nitty-gritty of getting community input to those different selected actions.
I think Uncle Brad brings up a great point, and I'm really glad to start this conversation in that way. That one, not only hence me trying to direct us to just to land on only one item and not overwhelm our plate. Is not only do we have a pretty green staff for these CDPs, so not that, but even the staff we have is limiting. If you don't even take into consideration that we're still growing our partnerships across the county and across these partnerships. But the hosting of the meetings, and we have 5 active committees. Hosting of these meetings, and then on top of it also being that resource of support.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, to be to be realistic, we don't have the capacity to tackle a lot. But if we can narrow in on some specific priorities, and we kind of maybe we re-strategize how we accomplish those priorities. Maybe not everything needs to be held in an AC public meeting format. Maybe there's just a couple AC members working on it, or a PIG is formed and it goes, and keep in mind, we also already have an active PIG, but another one can be formed, and then it can create an easier dynamic for us to have routine checkups and without the time that it takes, because it takes a lot. If I'm being like, I know but maybe there's a chance that you guys don't see it on your end, but hosting 5 meetings this month, we have 5, and sometimes it's frequently like that. The ACs have gotten more active, which is a great thing, and I don't want, like, that's not, it's just, it does take time, posting, drafting, minutes and agendas, all the other social media and email listserv that happens in the background, that takes away from us actually working on these specific priorities.
Right.
And so I agree with Uncle. Well, I think it's important to keep that in the back of everybody's mind. The reality. I would love to have more planners directly involved with these ACs, but I'm doing what I can and pushing where I can push.
Yeah.
But it's a process. So just as something to cockle, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. For the last couple of years, we've been beating this issue with the power plant on the Hāmākua coast. It seems to me, in terms of community action, we should have somehow either endorsed that concept within the community or said we don't want it. And so what's happened is that thing has been through the courts, it's been before the public. So I don't know whether that's an appropriate item for this part of the action. I mean, if we're gonna do industrial sites on the Hāmākua coast, it ought to come before the CDP before it gets too far along. I mean, am I on point here, David?
I'm just trying to see where that fits into what we're talking, I'm not sure. I think to, Richard's point, I think, that not only county planning department, but maybe, the county planning department could help. Tell us who liaisons are in other departments, road departments, who we can talk to and ask questions of. Or Parks Department, or, if we want to find out about some easement, or who do we talk to? I mean, that just. We had a list of contacts that we could talk to, that would sort of be another good resource for us. But I do agree with, we have to have these contacts within the county. I don't think just the planning department, without those, it's pretty hard.
I don't think it's a function of the planning department to deal with it, but when the issue comes up, I think it's incumbent upon the planning department to call it to our attention. Yeah, or somebody in the county. There's a lot of wasted time and effort went into that process. I mean, it's crazy. I'm just trying to see where that fits into this. Well, we're talking about industrial development. And one of the action items she referred to, I think it was the last one, it made reference to industrial development on the Hāmākua coast.
I would first of all like to express appreciation for your setting us off in this direction. Actually, I think this is the fact is that, gosh, some of us here have been on the committee for 4 years, and we've never really been directed toward looking at these issues that are presented, first of all, in the community development plan, and secondly, in this, action guide. And the fact that planning is saying, look, here, these are the directions that we should be placing our attention, I think is actually a great step forward. When you had sent out the questionnaire, I kind of visualized maybe the way this is going to work is that, there will be a set of, I think there's approximately 10 that you have emphasized here, 10 items. And I had visualized that, well, we are going to probably divide up into several different groups, and they probably would take the form of permitted interaction groups. And the people that were kind of drawn toward one of these 10 would get together and they would direct their attention and their energy toward that. Other people would, find their, or, whichever of these they thought would be, their level, their particular interests. And so I'm wondering, is that what you are, is that the image also that you have, that we will kind of look at these and perhaps choose one, and several other people in our group will choose the same one, we'll call it, that group of permitted interaction group. And then, set to work on that particular item. Is that the image that you have, Marion?
Well, there's definitely not one. I'm sorry, that's not loud. I heard myself. There's definitely not just one way to tackle this. What I had envisioned was the committee members review these items. They voice the pros and cons of these items, different strategies that could work, any current updates that might affect working with any of these items. And then that we would settle on as a group. I was hoping for 2 as a maximum of these items, considering we already also have an active PIG. And then how we decided, it would obviously depend on which item is chosen, or items, and strategizing today how we thought we could accomplish these, beyond the creation of the PIG or not. Actually breaking them down and setting some objectives in the timelines, because just one of these items might require the creation of multiple PIGs over the timeline of achieving whatever action item it is. And it would be a specific PIG. One way this could work is a specific PIG would be created, like we're doing for YPO, just to gauge community interest. And then that report is shared and a decision is made from there, and that affects the rest of the timeline. And so they're kind of just piecemealed in that way. And each one of these are significant. A lot of them do relate to one another, and it would be nice if we chose, it would make sense to kind of choose ones that were somewhat related. So we had a bit of a theme going on this year. Right, we already have the YPO conversation, policy 55 and 56, and having things that kind of relate to that might help the groups kind of pursue both of these items at the same time and kind of share that knowledge and kind of expedite the process a little bit. I think it would be, I know there's 10 items listed. I think it would be that the members, we risk splitting ourselves too thin if we try to pursue 10 items. And we try to have different members work on create PIGs for each of these different items, and they vote to be a part of these different PIGs. That's my concern. I think because a priority for me in seeing, being here the past year and seeing and doing research based on what has happened and what's been going on with the ACs, is that what I think of something we really need is we need some hallmark accomplished goals to show. And so I'm worried if we spread ourselves too thin, we're risking not accomplishing a lot of these things, and we're risking just starting conversations that fizzle out. Whereas if we focused on 1, maybe 2 priority items, or we could really dig into them more in-depthly and create more plans that could be handed off as different AC members come on board and pass the baton, and these little milestones that we hit can be shown as accomplishments that are recognized by people outside of the AC as well. So I think with the combination of me wanting us to have some physical accomplishment, not necessarily physical, but some recognizable accomplishments, on top of not wanting to risk spreading AC members too thin, and also the reality of the limited staff staffing capacity we have to support the ACs. That combination kind of gears me more towards just choosing one more item. If I'm being like so honest with how in my ideal visioning of how this goes. But to clarify, that is just me and the team talking it through and kind of giving our own go at it. Always depends also on you guys and how we mold this path. That we're just here to facilitate the process, just like you guys are also like here to aid in implementing this document that was created. And all of the hefty things that were mentioned in it. It's not to be taken lightly, everything that's noted in there. And how we go about it, there's not an explicit rule book on, an equation of how exactly we need to do this. And for better or for worse, it gives us that opportunity to create something that's unique that could work with us that are involved at the moment. Not too sure if I answered your question. Totally, Tom.
You did. Can I ask for elaboration on infrastructure improvements and preserving historical and cultural character?
Your question is about those 4 items, why they're there?
Well, it says other input received, so I'm guessing whoever submitted their rankings of these responses had also added those in too.
So the Google form, we made it anonymous, so we couldn't go back and see who said what. But basically, these 4 items were submitted by somebody in lieu of specific action items.
Okay, so there's no like elaboration on what they are.
That was all that was submitted, yeah.
Okay. Okay, for me, most importantly, would be 3 and 4, honestly. Our coastal resource management, as part of watershed management, we know all the stuff that's happening around Mauna Kea and our watersheds. And for me, they go hand in hand with our coastal lines. I'm looking at it from more native lens of what I know is happening federally, governmentally versus what people are doing, like the development implementation of safe routes. That's like you said, all of these are important, but for me, most importantly, I feel that 2, 3, and 4 are the most important right now, and that we should start working towards that, but that's just me.
Yeah, maybe we could just go around if everybody wants to and just give us a feel for what you think, maybe just 2 items, because I mean, realistically, I think she's absolutely right. Yeah.
Those 2 kind of go in hand.
Yeah. So anybody that has a couple they want to bring up, feel free.
Let me suggest something. Maybe what I'm about to say fits into one of these action items. But the biggest problem facing our community is low unemployment, the lack of housing. We've got a community college campus here that's doing absolutely nothing. And right now, from my perspective, the downtown is dying. And it's exemplified by the number of empty storefronts. And I don't think that's going to go away unless we refocus what we're doing.
Right. I agree with you. And through your lens of Hāmākua, we are looking at the more, because we are Hāmākua and not particularly Hāmākua. So how can that benefit the rest of Hāmākua?
Well, but I'm going to guess that a lot of what I'm saying is true in other communities. along the coast. I mean, David, for example, in this little community right here. After the workday, how many cars are you seeing parked in front of one household? Because you've got to, granted, some people want to live in a multi-family household. But for many others, they're doing it because they don't have any other choice.
I don't think there's anything wrong with, taking, Hāmākua and saying that it needs this and that could definitely be its own little project, but it's so. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, there's just, everything we do isn't gonna be community-wide. So,
But for example, if we want to promote get the community college up and running again, to me, that's a community-wide issue, because what we're gonna do then is provide educational opportunities for people up and down the Hāmākua coast.
right, so that's one of your suggestions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marion, I'd like to ask a question. Do you visualize that? Whether it's one committee or let's say group or two groups or multiple groups. Do you visualize that these will take the form of permitted interaction groups?
That's definitely one way to go about it. What I enjoy about that is that it gives us the opportunity. Well, one, we already have one, like if we have multiple permitted interaction groups, obviously not everybody is to be on each of these groups. So it gives us the opportunity to kind of narrow down the conversation and to have these conversations out because it's a pig in allowance with sunshine. So we could be having routine check-ins. We could be communicating more openly, planning staff and AC and other departments. So that is a benefit that I see out of that, but it's not the only way. And I think, I mean, considering that Hāmākua is on a monthly cadence, even if it's updates for an action item that is just for that month, 2 action committee members are pursuing to find out these bits of information and we're working with them specifically, then and they end up bringing that update, and then at the next, and then the baton kind of can pass that way. Or if it's just those 2 members, because with 2 members, we don't need to create a pig. So I can see both. Considering Hāmākua is on a monthly cadence, I can see both avenues kind of working. Honestly.
Well, it seems to me that, we can create pigs at any time that we want. We don't have to do that all, now or the next meeting or anything. It seems to me that we could, choose 1 or 2 of these items, but if at the next meeting, somebody wants to work on a different direction, that they could bring up forming a pig at that point to work, on whatever direction they and, hopefully, I'm sure we'd all like to work with other members of the committee. So hopefully that someone else might share their interest and develop a, direction that could, in addition to the 1 or 2 that we might choose to begin this project with.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to bring up, because if we choose the items today, kind of go through what we think it could look like, how we could accomplish this, and then kind of everybody takes these next 4 weeks or 3 weeks that we have in between our meetings to kind of digest that and come up with their own, topics that come up, questions that come up, and then at our following meeting in May, kind of bring all of that back to the table and maybe it still doesn't constitute creating a pig, but it, you know, I think that's, yeah, there's no pressure to create the pigs today necessarily. I just want to agree with you on that point, Tom.
Well, another thing is, I think just from what we've looked at a little bit for the escape route for Cuckoo Highway Road is what happens is when you start looking into these things, I could probably list four things on there that relate directly to the things that get brought up by looking at Cuckoo Highway escape route. You put in an escape route, it could possibly be a trail or a bike fence. So there's trails. It also makes me think about YPO. There's a lookout up there that could be connected with that road, and that may take pressure off of the existing YPO Valley entrance. It's just multiple things come from these when you start looking at it. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Agreed. Uncle Bobby, I think you had something?
How about Brad or Robert? Do they have any comments on any of these? If they like,
Uncle Bobby, I think you have your hand. You've been raising your hand. You can go ahead and unmute.
Okay, can you put up community action number 3 PowerPoint presentation? Yeah, one recommendation, Marianne, thank you for all that hard work, but this is a small criticism. That picture on that bottom is not a Hawaii boat. You don't want that fishing in our waters. Plus, it can't fish here. It's a shrimper. Okay, so I would take that off. That's not right. Okay?
I
Really,
appreciate that.
we really don't want the threat of environmental groups saying that they're shrimping in Hawaiian waters now and they'll raise the hell. But let me kind of maybe give, I've gone ahead with some ideas, item number 2 and 3. Number 3 and 4 was really my suggestion. Because the Office of Climate, Sustainability, Equity, and Resilience really piqued my interest. Because one of my biggest beef with government, again, I work for the LNR, but we work in silos. So when I saw the coastal management plan, I said, boy, who came out with this idea? Is this realistic or not? And I think it is. But again, those years I work for government, both sides, including the federal government, the usual response I get is not my kuleana. Yeah. So the point is, I've kind of took a step forward. My vision is, I'm not a planner, so my vision is very myopic. Your planners understand my perspective. I work for the LNR, so I do the ocean side. I also I'm on a pig I am part of MACZAC. That's part of CZM program, and I represent East Hawaii. The biggest threat there, if you look at their management plan, is managed retreat. That's an issue usually in Oahu, Maui. When you come to Hāmākua, that's really is not our concern. But again, fishermen do not have a voice along the coast. Yeah. So I think here's an opportunity to engage them because we are going, MACZAC members are going to the, what's that big meeting they have in September on the west side? It's HCPO, the Hawaii Congress of Planning Officials. We're going to go there and we'll do a presentation. I'm on the MACZAC, and the theme of our pig is public engagement. So I think the point as member of MACZAC, so I can play both roles. I have a foot with MACZAC, with coastal issues, and I have a foot with this group. So I'm hoping I can join the sides because community action number 3 or 4 really addresses that issue. But before we do any management plan, we need to make that connection. So this is kind of what I like to do. So, maybe I need to give you a presentation what I can do, so at least you have an idea what I plan to do with your permission. So I thought this would be a good step one, you know, because I know a lot of fishermen that I work with, both as an agency as well as someone who does fishing the coast. The biggest aim for fishermen here is overfishing. Yeah, you should have pictured a shrimp boat. Of course, they're going to say overfishing. Damn thing can't fish here. But the point again is we really ignore land-based pollution. Yeah, that's really, I think, is really what's really causing the decline. You know, the glamorous issue with usually the coral-loving people talk about those damsel fish and all that aquarium fish that Hāmākua fishermen don't even eat. Yeah, so that's another issue. But the real issue, I think, is one size does not fit all. So I think the Hāmākua CDP can address that issue by being unique. So I'd like to take on action number 3 and 4 and maybe do a little more coherent presentation of what I think can be done. Again, I don't want to bring dirty laundry to the floor, but I've emailed community, I've emailed planning office people. I get 0 response. How do we overcome that? You know, I mean, is it that there's, you know, you're trying your best, but whenever we go to other agencies, do we need to go through you to get to them? I mean, I'm really frustrated because if we are to carry the county's mission, there should be some way, at least we have a decency of a response. Even to say, I don't want to talk to you is fine with me. Then I'll go somewhere else. But I think the point is, at least have decency of a response of an email request. Yeah. So I don't know if you can help me. How do we overcome that? You know, I don't want to go to the council member and say, hey, you know, can you open the doors for me? I just want to ask something because it has to do not with my backyard or my interest. It has to do with this county plan. So if you can help me address that issue, and I think there's a way to move forward because on the other hand, with MAXAC, we have a very open door policy with CZM, and their peg is to outreach to the counties. In other words, what can MAXAC do to help the counties address their issue? You know, one of them was setback. I tried to ask that, I got no response about setbacks. What are the setbacks in your coding? You know, so there's some reason, you know, we volunteer for the county, but at least we need to have some response. If your concern is don't bother us, that's fine with me too, because I think this is not a you know, to waste my time on something like this. So at least we need the county. So I don't know where to go. Marion, I'm looking at you, but I'm sure you know you work and you have bosses to talk to. So somehow if we can overcome that reluctance of maybe not answering an email, you know, just the decency of an email. I'm sure they have emails. So something that really bothers me, you know, so if you can help me with that, because I think I can address item number 3 and 4 in your action plan without much effort. And I can report on that because if you look at the PUNC, the latest PUNC request, fishermen was engaged in that, you know, but they have no way to go with that. But with this point, action number 3 and 4, it's a way to engage them with issues, you know. So I think we need to overcome that. So I'm saying that this is very short term, very myopic, but I'm hoping this can open basically create a bridge between our respective silos.
I think you bring up another great point that, sorry, my throat is a little funky today. But it also relates and touches to what Uncle Brad mentioned in the beginning in terms of planning staff capacity. You're not alone in that. We even receive that when we try to just reach out to other departments. It's very much, it's a process that we're still learning how to navigate, and it's part of the handicaps that I feel the ACs have with such a green team. A lot of this, it's helpful when you've already met the people and have a face, and then you go out and ask a question. As always, it's human nature. You don't, the AC members, when they're reaching out on AC business, there's definitely a way to do it, but they don't need to be going through planning staff. There's just a way to do it in terms of like sunshine to make sure, that is being accounted for, but it's not necessary to go through us. I think sometimes it can be helpful to go through with us for us to help you make that connection. It depends on the situation and the scenario, but I hear you. I know it's a problem. I experienced the problem as well. Um, um, definitely something I feel you, and I'm hoping to be able to kind of improve that as time goes on, at least for our side of things, and how we can be helpful and pinging and reminding. And sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes, there's politics involved. So it's just yeah, that's something we're gonna have to. And this goes for any of the action items we choose. It's the reality. Another harsh reality that there's going to be a bit of a hurdle for us to kind of go through every now and then. Sometimes it's like just that person doesn't work there anymore. We've had many times where we're trying to reach out for different commissions or boards, and like for whatever reason, just like ours, we didn't have CDP staff for a moment there last year. So I'm not giving excuses. There's definitely significant room for improvement.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate that. But this person has a new office. This person has a new position. So my question is, do I need to go to the mayor's office to raise Cain? Then I may never be welcomed again. But if we're to move forward and simply talking every month about the same thing and we spit stuck in mud, it's not going to go anywhere. So the point is, where can we go? I mean, maybe we'll go through you. You can show me what's the best way to do. I was thinking next of simply showing up at person's door and knocking and say, can you talk to me about this? Let me ask you a question. Because I work with MaxAC, and can I talk to you about how we can engage with each other? But if there's no response, then everything's going to get stuck. So I'm trying to find a way. I understand politics. I understand you all have office.
I hear you. Yeah, I think and that's the other thing, every situation will have a different solution. I think definitely we can work and talk together, and I'm sure it's not so intentional in terms of, and it's more simply there's just one staff person there at the moment. And she's putting everything together. But let's talk about it. Let's touch base and see how we can and help push that forward.
Yeah,
At the
because
same time.
at least I'll come to Hilo and say, okay, this is what I know. You're alone, but if you could talk with me, I'm not going to ask you for anything. I just want to ask you, this is what I'm going to do. Is it okay with you? Then I can go to, because MaxAC is very active in this stuff with pig. I'm on the second pig now, and so if MaxAC with CZM is reaching out to the county for helping you to bridge those silos, here's a way we can score some points, I think. Because I hear the Hāmākua people, they don't can walk to the beach to go sit in the sun. They go fishing for a reason. That's their way to do things. This is Hāmākua. So that's the uniqueness for our plan, I think. So if you can do that, we can talk offline maybe, but if you can help me, I'd like to move forward. So at least we can, from my myopic perspective, for a non-planner, I can say, okay, we've achieved something with this plan that Brad and his group has really put together. So, just to add a feather in their cap, I think. Okay.
Sounds great. Look forward.
Miriam, could you put up the slide with the 10 or so items? Yeah. It sounded to me like Bobby was feeling like perhaps Community Action 3 and Community Action 4 would be a committee or a group that he would like to participate in sounded also like, Mahayalani, those might have been, well, one of those might have been your choice.
Both were retrying.
Go ahead, vote. So I wonder, are we on the verge of maybe wanting to make a motion to create a permitted interaction group to look at community action number 3 and number 4?
That's an option. Keep
No,
in
I-
mind.
I-
Oh,
I think I want to do a presentation first.
I wouldn't, I would not support that, because we need to talk to that OCA person first to see whether they are part of that. If they're not willing to participate, then it's not gonna go anywhere personally. Okay, so I would like to have that conversation first with, that head of that group to see whether, we can move forward or not. If they don't want to, if they deny our request, then this program is not gonna go anywhere and I'm just gonna do something else, so. Let's not jump the gun too early.
Oh, yeah.
What is OCA? I'm sorry.
that's the
It's-
sustainability office, Office of Sustainability.
Oh, yeah.
CDR,
Oh,
the new.
Oh, yeah,
sustainability-
It's climate,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
climate issues.
Climate change.
yeah, right. Bethany's,
Mhm.
department.
Has anyone taken up communication issues with Heather? Do we know?
No, that's later on. At this point, I think it's only proper to address the agencies first. I don't want to go to politics at this point, so.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Yeah, Bob, in response, having worked on this stuff for quite some time and trying to, get stuff implemented, the one thing that I have wanting to see more of in terms of getting people to bridge and get beyond their own little special interest, and that is the community development plans supposedly came from the voice of the community, from the people, all the input that was given. And so to get stuff implemented, I always felt that, okay, the county council, our elected officials, adopted this as the law. And the planning department is the sort of the facilitator of helping us put together the document. But it requires all these other state agencies and community and hopefully the mayor. And so I've always thought that, there needs to be political will to demand and support the community's voice. And so therefore, like just a call from someone in planning, maybe you gotta go to, the director and say, okay, the Hāmākua CDP wants to do this, focus on this coastal resource management plan or whatever. And therefore, go have the Zendo or the planning director contact the mayor and say, this is what we want to do. And then get just an email that, goes through all of them so they're made aware of the request saying that, okay, so we're reaching out from the community side, but we have the planning director, we have the mayor's support to talk to the state, DLNR or whoever is involved, CZM. And so everybody has, the so-called it's just a gesture. It's a political gesture. So you can say, hey, better answer, like we look forward and we expect your response. And I've always found that a lot of times, like either Mariam's staff trying to deal with it, and then you contact DPW is a good example, and they don't give a damn a lot of the times, even though they're supposedly, they're one of the main partners for like the roadways, the roadway designs, and that's where the clout of the mayor's office, the administration, and our council representative need to just say, hey, this is something that's important, that the community is asking for it, the action committee is asking for it and wants to work on it. Please help us. Okay, that's my one, piece of advice as far as trying to get the multiple partners to the table in an efficient way, just to say, okay, then we can move ahead. And then once you get the go ahead, then we expect you to please participate in our either individual meetings with some of the committee members, or when the community, when it's appropriate to come and attend the community action committee meetings. And then that way, we can let the community know that these guys are gonna show up and we need your support. And then you get the community input and they hear directly. And that's always been my hope for this CDP process. Because for me, it's been a long haul. And so I'd like to see that kind of, like pulling together people and, slapping them on the side of the head if they need it, by having that kind of support or explicit support, before as things move on. Because the most frustrating part is when we move ahead and nothing happens, even within the agencies. We can get people to come out, but if there isn't the support from the supporting members that really are needed to put these things into play, that's kill fight for me anyway. And so as far as my vote, I didn't actually like vote for any particular one, but personally I feel like like some YPO issue, the whole YPO issue is very dear to my heart, simply because I worked with folks when we drafted this plan, and some of them are not here anymore, and so I have a personal kuleana to move forward some sort of water, some sort of management plan, Vahipana status for YPO, because to me that's a legacy thing that we can at least come up with strategies that will protect the cultural and resource and recreation and all of those things. And so if we want to zoom in, I would support your action 3 and 4, and not specifically for YPO, because it can apply to all of these things, from the specific access points and trails to the community-based hui for fisher people, and then a coastal resource management plan. This is all related. But to me, like, I want to see some, I don't want to get it so broad, but I'm willing to support in that. And one other thing I wanted to mention is Ton, and I think Mariam's aware of Nancy Pasicchio, who is now on the vice chair of the Kona CDP. And she's tried this past legislative session to get the state some legislation, because to just sort of undo all this ridiculous pig and sunshine law type stuff, so that it's easy for us to meet as more than one. The sunshine law is like a handcuff to me, and so I'm just suggesting that as a as a next agenda item, and also the efficiency of our efforts to make it more streamlined. And basically, all the neighborhood boards on Oahu, they don't adhere to all this kind of like, not more than 2 of the neighborhood board members can participate in a committee or whatever they want to call it, and they have that in place. And so she was trying to get that to apply to change, add the name of action committees or whatever, so that it applies to all of us as well. And so I'm just gonna throw that on, that's all I have to say as far as, just, yeah, because we all wanna get some stuff done. I'm tired of.
Bobby, certainly I see your point that you'd like to find out what the a potential relationship is with the OSCR, whatever that is, before committing to development of a permitted interaction group. But on the other hand, it sounds to me like your interest is in mostly in action number 3, action number 4. And like Mahealani, seems to me like, you might want to proceed with, your heart is there. And it just seems to me like going ahead and applying yourselves to that particular project would probably be, in your own best interest and in the best interest potentially of Hāmākua. You may run into, difficulties in application, such as, for instance, difficulty in communication with this particular department or that particular department. But it seems to me like I have no particular interest in action number 3 or number 4. I would rather, direct my energy in other directions, but it just seems to me like you might want to reconsider possibly going ahead and forming a permitted interaction group to look at those issues, if that's where your real interest lies. So.
Any comments?
Yeah, can I think simply out of respect for the office and for staff, it's not for me to put them in a very uncomfortable position. So I think I'd like to talk to Marianne first to see if she can give me some guidance. I work for government and I know a lot of times there's a lot of pushback, so I understand the sensitivity. So if you can we can discuss this, Marianne, give me some ideas where I can go and do that first, with the assumption that this office is new, maybe a staff of 1, I understand that. So maybe we'll try that first. Because MACSAC, we're very active in MACSAC. As you say, I'm on the 2nd pig with MACSAC. And we're going to show up at this big that planning Congress and do a presentation on reaching out to county agencies. So I thought this would be a good example as a first step of bridging that differences between us. So if we can have a conversation later, I think I'd like to do that before we decide to develop a pig.
Yeah, and then just let us know what you find out. And glad to listen.
I think that's
So-
a good idea. Don, you mentioned that you're not interested in 3 or 4, but what numbers are you interested in?
Well, I'm interested in wildfire protection plans, and so I'd say probably for myself, action number 34 would be something I would like to participate in. I've had discussions with some people recently about community gardens. I'm somewhat interested in that. And trails and access is always one of my, interests. So I'd be happy to participate with whomever, any of those projects.
David, do you have action numbers that pique your interest?
And I certainly see the importance of 3 and 4, but just not having been involved in that community, and sort of this been knee deep in agriculture for the last 14 years. So, trails definitely, safe routes for schools. I see things like, not the hoy hoy, all the different communities that they have schools down along the highway, people live up in the hill, and, you know, kids can probably get down the hill all right safely to school walking, but once they get to the highway, it's kind of, it's that last mile to the school there, so it's really difficult. So if there was, you know, it's so hard with that road, if there was some kind of bike path that was safe for kids to get that last mile to the school. That would be important to me.
David, you know, you're mentioning agriculture. I thought sure there was one of these action items that was pretty specific to agriculture.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised maybe you didn't actually identify that as one of your, you know,
Well,
most interested items.
I guess my feeling on that is it's really, my real concern is the tax code is the issue with, agriculture. And the way the tax rates are set up, it never, so I don't know if this is more about planning and not about tax bills, maybe I'm mistaken.
You know, I have, over the last, 8 months, 12 months, spoken on a number of occasions with, representatives of the, Hāmākua Ag Co-op and, with, Kohala Center, representative from there. And the, current chair or president or whatever of the, what is it, the union, farmers union. And, you know, each one of them have indicated that they would really like to have a kind of a unification of their efforts toward the promotion of agriculture. And I know that, we had a presentation here by someone a year or two ago from the Hāmākua Institute. And I know that he is, you know, very active in trying to accomplish that same goal. And I think it would be really important that this action committee would, it's in some sense or another, try to, you know, be a mechanism for some kind of a unification of the efforts in that direction. And so in spite of the fact that we don't have, you know, agriculture specific item here, it seems to me like, you know, it may want to be considered that that being one of the options that we look at.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it seems to me that the Hāmākua Coast is the biggest piece of real estate that can be promoted for ag.
Well, yeah, the problem is, though, all the lots that are zoned for agriculture, you don't necessarily have to do agriculture on them. You can just buy the lot. You can build a house, and once you build a typical house that gets built on those lots.
But they're 5-acre lots, I think.
No, I'm talking 15, 20 is the typical size lots. And, once they build the houses that they typically build on that property of that house, the house is worth over $1 million. And that will never be used for agriculture again. And unless they put some, tax code changes on there and also restrictions on it sounds radical, but Oregon, which has done a very good job of preserving the agricultural land, requires a person that's farming, before they can build a house on the property, they have to prove that they have so much income off that property. If you're, I think in Hawaii, if you designate your, designated agriculture, you're committed to it. You have to, there's some little thing where you have to make $2,000. Well, and there's another problem is, and this is gonna touch a lot of people's whatever, but, lowest tax rates for cattle, those same people that put a house on their lot get one cow on the property, and then they pay the lowest tax rate of all. So it's just, it'll never happen. There will never be any even farmland preserved on this place.
Because of the current laws.
Yes. So,
Was that something?
so I did my little preach, and now I would love to know what the solution is and talk to some of these organizations. Okay, that sort of took us off the rails there. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We spent about, yeah, like 25 more minutes, and we have 2 more minutes to do.
Right.
Plus
So
funds.
I don't-
Plus economy development.
It could, but, yeah, so this 10 items here, and I guess there's some also some, auxiliary items, but looks to me like we're not gonna form a permitted interaction group today to address any of these. Wondering if we could add just a general agriculture item to that as we consider it again next meeting.
And should we at least narrow it down some?
Well, out of all of these, I think the most attainable one that we could get through would be, of course, after, Uncle Bob talks to the OSCER group, to me would either be trails or, developing safe routes to schools.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the easiest one, honestly, because already, the Hāmākua Youth Center is partnered with to do sidewalks in Hāmākua with a group, so to do an art project with sidewalks in Hāmākua. So I think that one's the most attainable one, but the importance of water and protecting our reef is important overall. To me. So.
Well, it looks like maybe we should just think about it. We've got some possible priorities. And get some more
Okay.
information.
It was a little hard to hear. Am I hearing right? We're wanting to sit on this for a little longer? Is that the
Yeah.
consensus?
Yeah.
Were we able to remove or strike any items listed? I know we wanted to include ag items, but we can do a little word search and hunt that. But any of these 10 items listed, are we willing to remove them as options for this year?
I might suggest number 7, Heritage Corridor.
The strike, right?
Just strike, yes.
Yeah.
Community action too, it seems like the priorities sort of just come up when they come up and our.
That's another thing
Yeah.
to consider, to keep in mind that just because we are focusing on 1 or 2 or how many items. It doesn't take away from that the agenda can always include something that comes up or, you know, and it could still, it's still a living, you know, agendas for the rest of the year that conclude other items, but this would just be the priority that we'll start working towards until further notice kind of thing too, just to keep that.
This is what came from the guide, right? The guide is what they worked on for those X amount of years, and they put together, they went around to each of the communities, and the communities said, this is what we want, this is what we want, and that's the community action numbers. Have any one of you from the EC spoken to your community? Because this is like, what, 10 years old?
Yeah, almost 10 years, even more. I mean, it actually started even earlier than that, but, yeah, there was a good 5 years of,
Is this still something that's important to our community, or,
but,
not to
The
say
C-
no, or, yeah, but I would, is there a way for us to put these items and send it out to our constituents, or like whoever's on your thing, so they can help us make the decision? Because if not, it's just gonna be the action committee sitting in a meeting talking about what we're gonna do, and there's no community input.
Is there, well, we have
our guide here, you know, it's the community development
Right.
plan. We've kind of extrapolated that to this, you know, action guide. It seems to me like there's so much in this community development plan. I don't think at this point we really need to, or even could, effectively go back to the communities to find out, you know, how they would like to maybe amend this.
No, I'm not talking about this, though, I'm just saying with that numbers that we pulled out
What we would, what the,
from those 10 things that we pulled out,
Yeah.
what's important for that?
yeah,
Kind of
well,
thing, you know, just out of this 10, not saying, well, no, they put too much hard work and too many years into that.
Yeah, right. yeah,
Stop with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to do what they did.
Right.
So that, sorry, if, it was misunderstood,
no,
but I'm just talking about those
Yeah.
10.
you know, actually, almost the most critical thing is how do we facilitate, this goes back to where we've been over the last, how many years, well, the 4 years I've been doing this. So much of our discussion and communication was how do we facilitate the communication with the community, you know, and that's exactly what you're bringing up. It is almost the most important thing, you know, and we could make another, you know, number 11 as that, you know, it's
Well, that's what Uncle Bobby was talking about too, right?
Yeah.
Engagement.
yeah, right. I think we're
And
gonna
just
have
as
to-
a general, resource to guide us in these conversations and the homework we're gonna do until the next meeting on this business item is on the planning department website. If you click on, or if you hover over this general plan tab, and then you'll see the individual districts listed. You click on Hāmākua, you'll go down here, it'll say view the Hāmākua CDP document. And over here, you'll get access to not only the committee folder that will have all of our agendas and minutes and everything that we post, but you scroll down and you'll see all the documents associated. So we have the actual final Hāmākua CDP that went through its ordinances in 2018. Other versions, this is an AD accessible version. And then we'll have the appendices and all these other supplemental tools. Hāmākua compared to a lot of the other districts actually has a lot of support information. I know it feels like it can feel like a burden to have so many pages of support information, but it's, you know, take your time to go through them And if anything, really, they are there and available as reference once we figure out what our priority is. And then we can do simple keyword searches and things like that to help see what these other documents have to help support the priority in question. Over here under implementation tools, this is where you're going to see the community action guide that we've been talking about today. This is the detailed rationale and implementation steps for community action. And so here you'll see a lot of the analyses that were used to create the original, the CDP document for Hāmākua. But you also see all these others documents to feel free to go through them. But so then, just to summarize, and so we can move on to the other items. We have 2 other items on the agenda for today and 15 minutes on the clock, is that we discussed a few amount of the items, notable items from the Google form are number 3 and 4, number 34, number 54, number 15, and tentatively hunting in that community action guide for ag related items as well. And then we can remove from this list of proposed items, we can remove number 2 and number 7. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So I guess the request would be that to come prepared for the next meeting with an idea of how to better narrow down this list and see if we can come towards a decision making on what our priorities will be for the rest of the year. You know, everybody will again come and share them out and everything like that, and we'll see where we can get the committee to land on. Feel free to reach out to planning staff if you have any particular questions. If you have trouble accessing this document from our website, reach out to us. If you need a printed copy, reach out to us. And we can work on providing.
Hey, Mariam, you
Yes.
know, as you do this, I would recommend highly to go and read the values and vision so that you can be reminded of why we're doing what we're doing and how whatever action you choose to focus, how it fits into those values and vision. I always find that it's helpful to go back to why you're doing something.
Back to the basics is always
Yeah.
helpful.
Because right now, you know, we just get bogged down in all these meeting stuff, sunshine law and all these other things and grappling with how to get it implemented.
And if anybody has questions on where to find that, that's in the Hāmākua CDP document itself.
Yep. It's a
And
link.
here we just leave it up for the rest of the meeting for now, for us to reflect on and osmosis absorb.
Just for, I think one of the important things is, just like Brad and Robert were interested in 3 and 4, and they want to do some homework on it first and report back to us. It's really important. Maybe that's what we just need to wait for, is that people that have a real interest in a certain subject. And, you know, they're showing the willingness to put in some time and do some research. And I think that's a great outcome, just getting that one. So. All right. I don't know that we need anything to go with that. Motion or anything, do we? Okay,
I think we can move forward.
we can move on to, let's see. Oh, the letter to Hawaii Wildlife Management Organization. So you can give us some background on.
I wrote this, you know, it started out as a, personal letter. And then as I, kind of finished the letter and was almost to send it, we had a, well, I know both Elizabeth and Nani, and consequently I, you know, felt comfortable in using their first names. And so this letter certainly has an informal character to it. I'm not sure, had I been, you know, writing this as a formal document from the, this action committee, I probably would have written it, with a little different style, but nonetheless, I think, almost 6 months ago, 5 at least, you know, we had comment, Nani had presented, to us maybe, 8 months ago. And then, I think she had indicated that approximately 5 or 6 months ago that this, wildfire, plan, wildfire prevention plan or wildfire preparedness plan for Hāmākua had been submitted to the various authorities that needed to check off on it before it was submitted to the public. And then on a subsequent communication with Nani, she had indicated that the time had elapsed, that they are permitted to make comment. And so it had to start over again. She had to resubmit it to those agencies. And so now another couple of months have gone by, and I just think it is an important enough document, or it could be an important enough document that number one, it should be as soon as possible presented to the public. But in the meantime, I'd like to kind of know what is the discussion, why, you know, back and forth between those various agencies and the wildfire organization. And so that's where this comes from. And I thought it would be more of a forceful document if it came from the action committee. And if it was the determination of the action committee that, yes, we should go ahead and get this sent. If the action committee wanted me to, you know, rewrite this with a little more formality, I'd be happy to go ahead and do that. But I think, you know, it could be sent from the action committee, possibly almost as it is now. So I would like to make a motion that we would proceed with sending this or something very close to it to the Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization as a action committee.
So just basically to get the latest information on the.
Yes. And I'll make that motion that we should send it as a committee, but I totally would respect the opinion of the committee if it was that I should just send this, you know, myself. I'd just like to go whichever way the committee would like to do.
I think you'd have to look for more attention if it's from the committee.
Yeah,
So we have a motion to send this letter.
yeah, I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, and it's,
Okay.
yeah, you said you're gonna make it more.
Yeah, a little bit more, yeah.
More groupy than,
But I'd like to go ahead and be able to send it this month rather than have to bring it
Yeah.
back to the committee. That's,
absolutely, that,
yeah. And it would be, I think, actually signed by the chair.
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? None, being none, we'll ask for the vote. All those in favor of sending the letter, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? None being opposed, the motion carries. Okay. Move on to, the permitted interaction group. Decision making on whether to create a permitted interaction group to investigate the draft general plan 2045. And I take it this is to, be ready to respond after it gets up to the, higher levels in the county.
You know, I think I've been pushing this, and consequently, maybe I should make a few comments. The first, yes, our committee was informed that, yes, we do have the prerogative of making comment for recommendations after this is a final draft is presented to the public, and after that final draft is presented to the public, it would subsequently be presented to the planning commission and then the county council. And so I think there were actually 3 of us from the committee that made comments on the plan that has been presented as a first draft. And I had found this over this past month that those were, or at least the comments that I had made were actually, at least some of them were put into the mechanism that exists currently for public comment. But the duties and responsibilities of the action committee list that the committee will make recommendations on amendment of the general plan, and consequently, I continue to think that it would be desirable that we as a committee would, as we see the final draft, that we would be ready to make comments to the commission and the council. But to do that, I think we have to start now. I don't think when it is presented to the public, whether that's in 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, that we're going to have time to form a permitted interaction group at that point. And then, the various steps. I think we have to already be looking at formulation of thinking or a coordination of thinking about what we've seen in the draft, and so that we can apply that as the final draft comes out. So I think the time is now to form a permitted interaction group for this purpose. And essentially be ready when the final draft is presented. So, so I would like to make a motion that a permitted interaction group for comment and recommendations for amendment of the draft general plan be formed.
Yeah, are you talking about big then?
Yes.
Okay.
Since we have a motion, do we need to decide who, if anybody would want to be on that first, who it is, or do we just go ahead and? I'm not sure. Mary, did you catch that? we need to, determine if people are, if someone's interested in that, doing that first before we have a motion on it to create a pig, or we just create it and then find out who's interested.
I think before anything, the motion needs a second. Is that right? If there's no second, it would be.
Yeah, I think you need a second
We
for the
can have
motion and then a
discussion.
discussion.
So there's a second to the motion
What was the motion?
to create a permitted interaction group to, be
For
ready
the
to,
general plan?
yeah, to give comments.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Well, we could have discussion.
No discussion, so
Yeah.
I'm getting done.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion?
I'm just gonna say, I do not want to be on that page. Just for,
I have a question. Can a pig be one person?
I believe technically, I think it's supposed to be. I think it technically can, but I also don't believe it's necessary because then you as a single individual person, you going and doing all these things, you're reaching out, you are not in any violation of sunshine. So it would be purely just.
Only if you want to work with another committee member, but if you're willing to take on that role, we don't actually have to establish a pig.
But we
Yeah,
can. In other words, the motion is that we'll make a pig. But if no one else wants to participate in that group, then that one person can be the permitted interaction group.
Technically, yes,
I
that's my
think that is-
understanding. You can.
Yeah.
But any 2 and under, it's unnecessary, but technically allowed.
Right. You don't have to form a pig. It's two and
What?
you don't have to form a pig if it's two people.
So
So you want a pig.
I guess that's why I was asking if we know how anybody's interested.
two committee members.
Right.
AC, yeah. Sorry.
So I think if there's no one else interested,
I'll work with Ton.
okay, we have Brad.
My pig is full.
Okay. That sounds like that's.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to create a community interaction group. We did all in favor. So,
Aye.
Aye.
aye. We have any other, did we get any ayes from the Zoom people?
Yeah, aye.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, that's 5, so that's good to go, okay. Am I forgetting something here? And,
Agenda. Oh, his. Agenda.
Oh, yeah, my original question.
okay, so. Question, so, we need to vote on that. We need to vote on that,
No,
It's on the agenda, right?
okay. Sorry, I just lost track of their agenda. No, there wasn't another one, was there? No,
Yeah, they pointed it out, well, it's, it.
oh,
Not agenda itself, sorry, but it's under announcements.
This is.
For this agenda item for the next meeting.
Okay. Are we ready for announcements?
No, well, yes, announcements, planning department update.
Okay.
So we have our agenda items for our next meeting.
That's what we're, oh,
Oh, well, technically, yes, we have to address that.
okay.
And then the,
Potential items, does anyone have any potential items for the next meeting?
Bobby was gonna present, right?
I don't know if this is appropriate, but, we have an issue along, Old Mamalaho Road from Kole Park through, through Wailea. And the bridge is out, the Kole bridge in front of the park is open. But, and there's supposed to be, we're trying to get a meeting with, Heather and DPW and some other folks because it's moving glacially slow. And, the Old Malahoa Highway is, like you see in the CDP, it was identified, or is identified as, sort of part of that kind of heritage corridor. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of urgency on the county's part dealing with FEMA, and so we have this bridge out, and a whole bunch of people, about 50 households are having to go on this one detour route, a 1-lane road with a bridge with limited thing. And so anyway, that's a kind of burning issue here, and it almost seems like I'm thinking I wouldn't mind having that on the agenda so that they can present to that, and we can get community members to come out, because we may still try and have a separate meeting, in-person meeting. We've been having Zoom meetings, but it's come up with more excuses, and I think people are getting really frustrated. And so that's something that potentially I wouldn't mind having some accountability by them showing up, like DPW and maybe some of our other agencies that have been involved in that, so that they can hear the concerns of our neighbors. So that's my one particular potential.
Yeah, that sounds pretty important.
Yeah.
And we can submit agenda items.
Yes.
via Email too.
Yes.
Yeah. But, Uncle Bobby, are you presenting at the next meeting on items number 3 and 4?
I don't know yet. My first attempt is try to meet with the person from that Oscar office.
Okay,
It's on the Polole to talk to them first before we proceed.
okay. So that's tentative.
Well, you can report back then, Bob, what you heard.
What's that?
You can report back what you heard, or if you get in contact with them.
Oh yeah, if I do, yes, I will. So let's give it
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully get some solution from now to then. So I'll try.
Yeah.
We could have those 2 items, one tentative. So. Anything else? And you're always free to send agenda items in. So.
Oh, and then action committee coming with their important thing, or do you want to wait till after Water gives his presentation and see what he gets? Because then that'll push us the 6 months between something in 6 months,
Yeah. So you're saying just everybody, so
Do I dare move to adjourn the meeting?
No, we're,
so you're saying everybody can find their list of.
yeah,
Yeah, that could be just have a quick, if anyone really nails down their couple of items that they want to see go forward, to bring that next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then we have announcements.
Okay, just another reminder that we have vacant seats that we're looking for new applications to the Hāmākua CDP Action Committee. they can apply on the mayor's office website. A little reminder about that. And the next item is the planning department update on public notices. This is, let's see, this is basically the request to have applications that are submitted to the department be distributed to AC chairs. So I just want to share a little bit of the process that I've gone and into investigating this. So public notices that in terms of like permit applications and whatnot that come through the planning department, it's already established in code to notify the public of these applications. These applications include the planning commission items that get heard in front of planning commission. This includes the subdivision consolidations, variances, plan approvals, and planning department wide notices. And what I can do here is, so planning, as of today, just to give, a temp check of where we're at. As of today, planning, at the bottom of our homepage, you go over here to public notices. And it has the 3 categories that I just listed. 3 of the categories that I just listed. And you can click on these, and these are the most, these we'll discuss. And you click on it, and then these are also posted in the newspaper. So when you click on it, no, that didn't work. No, maybe I just didn't give it time to load. You'll be taken to this little notice. This is literally the newspaper clipping that goes into, that gets sent to the newspapers. And then it'll kind of give the information, as you can read here. And then as well, of course, always with our public notices on our meetings, we have a listserv and people sign up for them, and we email blast. You guys are all on those lists on top of also getting your personal blast to the committee itself. Now, the other one that I mentioned earlier is, let's see, a planning commission. So if you go to planning commission, that gives all the fact sheets, their agendas, everything is posted here per Sunshine. However, you will see that I'm not seeing their, they also have a listserv that you can sign up for. So in order to get to that listserv, unfortunately, the easiest way as of today to do that is to go onto the county website. And from the county's website, you would go to, let me see if I can find it real quick. You click over here on boards and commissions, and then you would go to, oh boy. I guess my point is it's not simple, and it's not easy to get to. And that is a problem. It could be better. So what I'm working with is seeing how this whole thing can get improved. And letting you guys know the different the different items under planning's umbrella. Now, planning isn't the only department, obviously, that you want to be receiving notices from. So, and so many of the departments have listservs for those specific things. And what I'm noticing, this is widespread, right? The request is for us, when we receive notice, when they post these newspaper clippings, for us to forward these to chairs. I believe the specific notice was to go through this notice and look at the TMK and see, and send it to each district, or to send it to Hāmākua district for those that are relevant. I'm going to be pretty frank with you, letting you know that we're running 5 active ACs. These notices get published multiple times during the month. It is, it does take away from our planning time when we're working on other items for you guys. That's the reality of it. Especially whatever I do for you guys, I need to be able to provide to all the other committees. I'm not too sure it's the best use of our time. I'm working to see how administrative permits can create their own listserv so that people can be included in their, submit their email to be included in the blast so that they blast them. I will send out the link to the AC for the Windward Planning and the Leeward Planning Commission's listservs, so you can put in your email and get those in your email every time those agendas and minutes are posted. But I'm just being honest with you guys about, I see that there's a problem. I see that going and hunting the newspaper for when something gets posted, or coming on the department website multiple times a week just to check to see. I mean, it's pretty routine. It's, the beginning of the month, middle of the month, and, somewhat like that. But to constantly be going and checking for yourselves, that's also an encumbrance. So I see that it's not perfect. I see that there's a lot of room for improvement. This is not, participatory planning. This is complicated. You take so many clicks to get to what the information that we're looking for. And when you do get to it, it's not a beautiful format. So this is something that I'm definitely working to see how I can strategize it and advocate for it. But per code, technically rules are being followed. So that's my general update. I'm open to hearing what you guys are still wanting and requesting. But I just want to show you guys this other side of it. And to see that there are some things that you can already sign yourself up for.
Okay. So essentially, the answer sounded like it was, we should not expect that, we will be notified of new applications for subdivisions, zoning changes and variances. Since that is in the duties and the responsibilities of the action committee, so I think the number 5, received briefings as requested from the planning department on pending and approved permit applications involving property located within the planning area. I think it's incumbent on the chair of the committee to discuss this with the corporation council as to how this should be resolved.
Yeah, it's right there. So,
Thank you.
Just to go back a little bit, I'll send you guys this link later. But this is the link where you can sign up for all the other boards and commissions with the county. So it's not just Windward or Leeward Planning Commission. It's also CRC that's under planning. Obviously, our CDP ACs are in here. So you do the same, put in your email, and then you would select. And it has a little yellow coloring to it after. It looks like it's a little star or something. The which ones that you select.
didn't see the word variable.
And then you would submit, or you can do subscribes to all, of course. But that is technically what is in effect today.
Let me ask you a question. Getting a public notice and then just a TMK like they do in the newspaper. As we know, most people don't even look, not gonna go look up the TMK and try and find out where that is. And the only other thing that they see is like if they see a sign out on the site. And so let me ask the question. I think it was Ton who wanted, who had requested this. And so my question would be, you would want to have the information not just have to search the application. You would actually want the application to see what is being, like a map or sketch, the requirements, is that correct? And with the vicinity map, because that's what an application would have. It would have the whole thing. Because otherwise it's meaning we're not going to go through that through that process of hunting down the, looking up the TNK, because most of us don't know how to navigate all of that stuff. And so I guess the intent would be what on.
I would think that notification of the chair with a link, notification of a link to the application would be what would be the reasonable mechanism. I don't think, we're gonna ask for the application to be sent, but I think that there could be perhaps some way that the chair could be notified of a link to the application.
I guess internally, planning would have to, obviously they receive it and they digitize the application. And so, yeah, I mean, and then it would have to figure out a way so that that link to that application in-house in the county files would need to be able to be sent to the chair. So is that what we're asking, perhaps, Miriam, to see what that's possible?
Well, what it sounds like is that they only have access to the newspaper clipping, because that's all that they're posting on their website, not unless they dig deeper.
That's just a public notice to let people know in a public venue that, and most people don't even go look at those things. But yes, so the question is, how is it going to be useful to us? Yeah. Because some of us are gonna, I'm assuming Ton asked that so that we can see, hey, what's going on in our community in terms of zoning changes or proposals or subdivisions that,
that are coming up and nobody knows about.
Right.
That has been passed to the county.
Yeah.
Honestly, Tom, what you're asking for, I don't even think that the county has that capacity, sorry.
No.
Even though from what you're reading, it sounds like it's their curiosity to have that and to provide us with that, but that's one place that they're lacking.
So what if I went down there and made a public records request? How long is that?
It's money, I'm pretty sure the public records, as long as it's filed, they can give it to you.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So I think, David, you have to put pressure on them to make sure that they're holding up to their kuleana and what they promised the ACs that they were gonna do.
Right.
And like Mariam is saying, they have 5. So it's not feasible for them, and they have 5 ACs that they're running, it's not feasible for them to do this. But the county needs to, because that's their kuleana. So this is something that we need to talk together.
Yeah.
Honestly, because that's what they promised us and they're not holding up to their end, so. As the AC, I think we need to put pressure on them and be like, hey, dude. This is what you told us and you're not holding up to your end, so what's up?
That would be something to be addressed by all of the ACs. As a body, as an entity.
Yeah.
This actually is only, I'm reading from our community development plan. No, that's not right.
No.
Right, that's
It's a county.
that's the ordinance, right? So, yeah, I'd like to hear what the corporation
I'll
council.
look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because ideally, if ideally what would happen is that applicants would know that, if they got something, that may affect the community, like, any subdivision does, that they would, like make it a point to either present or, at least notify the that would be the ideal in terms of the transparency that people go say, oh, just like the neighborhood boards in Honolulu, that's what they, those guys, I think they do some of that. And so what happens is that a developer or, somebody doing these zoning changes would know that, hey, smart to go and, present to the community, because if they get wind of it, that would be my ideal in terms of community engagement and then, in terms of what people would do, right? So that they get the community support before they even think about, like moving forward.
Yeah. Well, maybe Dr. Poliana and Heather's assistant can let the constituents know what's going on in that community. And I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, no,
But I think for these ladies and Mario's group, I think it's a little too much to ask them, but so we gotta ask the higher ups to the client,
okay,
but then. Okay, now
make a motion.
Half an hour, 20
Second. Okay, motion is second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Aye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for today's meeting.
Thanks, bye.